for this week, we're going to discuss event notifications and services and patterns involving services and things like that, right? So for today, we're going to keep it quite simple in terms of the complexity of the stuff we are going to discuss. But we're going to talk about event notifications, right? So on a technical level, this is not really a really complex topic. But there's a lot of things behind construction of these events which you'll have to consider in terms of user experience. It's not just the complexity of the code or the complexity of the application that really matters as a developer for you, right? It's also about user experience. And though the concepts which are very simple in nature, which we're going to discuss today, there is a lot of thought behind stuff which you have to do, and simple things do matter. Some of the users are very sensitive and very perceptive of all the stuff which we put into an application. So you probably realize that when you're actually publishing that to market, and there'll be live interactions with the users where they dynamically keep changing the rating because of a feature which was newly introduced or because of a crash, and they say that fix this, then I'm going to give back my rating as 5, and things like that. So user experience is very important, especially in Android development, right? Okay. So when we say event notifications, what exactly are we talking about? Well, basically, a lot of stuff happens on your phone. You have put your stuff to download. You're probably turning on some feature of the phone, like your Wi-Fi connectivity, or you're trying to connect to a network. You've put in your airplane mode and things like that. So a lot of things which keep happening on the phone, and the user deserves to know what is going on in some form of feedback, right? So that is what event notifications are all about. It's about letting users know what stuff is going on currently in your application, or in the background of your application, or things like that, right? It's basically a mechanism where you provide feedback to the user saying that, okay, this is happening at the moment on your device, on your application, right? So when it comes to notifications, you could classify notifications as toasts, dialogues, and notifications, or status bar notifications itself, right? So this is more of my own classification. It's not like a standard nomenclature out there, but I thought all these concepts fit in together at some point of time, so that when we are focusing on event notifications as such, it would probably be wise to discuss all these 3 things together, so that it's a dedicated session on notifications itself, right? Okay. So you might have seen these things out there already. If you're already learning some stuff beyond what you have been doing in the course so far, you probably would know what I'm talking about here. It's called the toast, right? It's the most simplified form of notification out there in Android, right? It's very simple. It is supposed to deliver very simple information, right? Which is kind of very quick to glance over, or it's sort of glanceable information. So what it means is that the information doesn't last long on your screen. Okay, it just appears and it just vanishes away, right? Very evanescent kind of an event, right? That is where toasts come in, right? The toasts do not demand any user acknowledgement. What this means is it's sort of a read-only information which doesn't really care whether the user saw it or not. Okay, so even if the user might miss out on a toast, the consequence in your application design should be that nothing is sort of messed up for the user in the form of functionality or experience, right? It should be a glance and it should fade away, right? It should not demand for acknowledgement. That means you shouldn't really bother whether the user actually saw it or not. But if he did see it, then it's your job's done. If he didn't see it, then it's also done. Okay, right. So what are the things which you can? Okay, what is a toast basically? Let's just see what these are. What's my Okay, so toasts are used for confirmation from applications. So this is an important statement here. It's one of those things where your application provides a confirmation that it did the particular task which you asked it to do. Okay, so this understanding is very important, especially when you're designing applications. If you want to use one of these kind of feedbacks, you have to realize that which is the appropriate one which I should choose as a part of user experience. Okay, user experience is a very important field in Android, and even going further to say the entire space of mobility. Okay, it's not something a developer should neglect, right? There will be teams out there who are pretty much experienced in user experience design dedicated for mobility. It's a completely different space, and there's a tremendous scope and career opportunities out there for application developers. For user experience, people. Okay, I'll just show you a simple confirmation kind of a thing. So if you have ever set an alarm, right, on your Android phone, you have to realize that every time you interact with this, it sort of gives you a confirmation that whatever you tried to do has been done. For example, turn this off, turn it on. When I say this, you can see that it says a confirmation that the alarm is set for 19 hours and 20 minutes from now. So what this means is that you are actually getting a confirmation from the application that whatever functionality you did has been acknowledged by the application itself, right? So when you are designing applications and you have a similar functionality where the user did something and you want to show the user that your application has acknowledged whatever event you did, that's when you get to use the toast. Okay. So let's take a look at a little bit of code, right? Okay. All right. So before we start looking at the code, I thought I would probably have to give you a little bit of dose on Android Studio over here, which I've been using so far, in my work and things like that, right? You're used to Eclipse and the ADT, okay? But going further, there is a decision from the Android Google end that they will be starting to deprecate the Android Eclipse ADT ecosystem and slowly move towards the Android Studio. Okay, so just to give you guys a whiff of the things to come, so that you're not totally taken by surprise once you finish this course. That the very reason, in fact, I'm giving you this is because just a month ago or something like that, this was still in the alpha release, right? It's an IDE, right? Just like you have an Eclipse followed by your ADT, which you already know. Android Studio is also an IDE, but it's based on IntelliJ platform, right? And it's out there in the beta now, right? And every time they're adding new features and upgrading it, you get updates and you keep upgrading it, and then finally, maybe a few month or two from now, you're going to have a full-fledged release, and the whole world is going to migrate towards Android Studio, leaving behind Eclipse. Okay, so which is why it is slightly important for you guys to be familiar with what's going on, okay, around the world, so that you're this thing about adapting mobility as a part of your career. It's a very dynamic industry. Make sure you're updated and make sure you follow sufficient blogs and things so that you won't be left behind. All right. So before I take you guys through a demo of simple toasts and stuff like that, let me just give you an overview of the Android Studio itself, right? So if you look at this, there is a slight difference over here when it comes to working with Android Studio. In fact, let me just show you how do you convert an Eclipse project into an Android Studio before we start going over here. So Eclipse is what we've been using so far. The reason I also got this Android Studio to be discussed here is because it's a recording, and just for the record, at some point of time when you want to migrate, you are aware of what to do, because you will visit this recording multiple times, right? Okay. So ADT, which is the plugin for Eclipse, which actually pings the ADB server, right? And does all the stuff, compiling and updating the library and things like that over here, right? Also has a feature where you can export a particular Eclipse project into an Android Studio project. Basically, apart from the structural differences of the project, what is it at a build level that's significant in change is that Eclipse uses AND as a build tool, right? But Android Studio uses Gradle. Okay, there's a new build system called Gradle. To be honest here, I really do not know the internal base of Gradle or anything like that, but I believe it's based on Groovy technology, right? Right. So let's just see how I can export a particular project into from an Eclipse project into an Android project. So if you already have a particular project set up on your Eclipse, just click on that, okay, and then you click export, right? When you do that, you create this. There's an option called Generate Gradle in your Android folder here, okay? You have to select that, click Next, right? It gives you some kind of information over here. You could read that, right? And when you click Next, it asks you again to choose a particular which application you are doing. Ideally, when you right-click on this and you click on Export, this shouldn't happen, but the plugin is not so evolved, right? So again, you go back and choose the application which you want. The probable reason why you want this dialog even shows is because you might have dependent projects here. For example, this project may depend on this particular project because this particular project may be a library project, right? So in order to probably help you with those things, it probably again asks you which particular set of projects which you need to export. When you click on that, Next, right? It shows here that you're gonna, just before I was trying this out, the warning is because this particular project, I've already done this just a few minutes ago before I show you guys the demo, right? So yeah, so basically you select the exported modules and you click on Finish, and that's done. So when you actually go back, you go to Eclipse project, you go to Android Studio, you click on File, you click Import Project, right? And you can see here the text view, which is a part of my workspace over here for all the demos of this course, right? You can see that it's converted into a text view demo project, right? You can see that the build.gradle, which is the build, just like the AND's build.xml, we have the build.gradle file here, which takes care of buildings and stuff and all that, right? Similar structure holds good. I will just discuss the structural differences here as well. So when you click on OK, it's going to import, and then you just do a Gradle sync, and it's going to build it. That's it. Okay. So so that's how you can do that. For example, you can take an Eclipse project and convert it into an Android Studio project, but you cannot do the other way around. You cannot convert an Android Studio project back to an Eclipse project. What you can do is manually take all the Java files, manually take all the layout files, and copy the XML file, and then reconstruct an Eclipse project from an Android Studio project. There is no mechanism where you can just, a couple of clicks and it will become an Eclipse project. Reverse doesn't work. Okay. So anyway, so this is the basic folder structure of a Gradle-based Android Studio project. You have the project here. I still don't know what this idea is here. It's probably something to do with publications and things like that, right? And this is relatively new, guys, so bear with me over here. I cannot give you the complete overview of this particular project, but we have been using it so far. Things keep changing here because a lot of releases keep happening. So over time, this is the future. So keep that in mind, okay? So libraries, again, is just like the libs folder in your Eclipse project, where you have you can store SO files or probably even your jar files and any external libraries which you use, right? And the build is where the actual, generated files and intermediary files get generated, right? This is similar to the build in the Eclipse project, right? The source over here has two folders, right? One is the main, and the other is the Android test. This is for Android JUnit testing, right? It's a big topic by itself, right? So it's not covered as a part of this syllabus, right? Although I'm planning to do something on that as well, because people use that across the organizations. They can pretty much automate Android application testing using Android JUnit, but using a concept known as instrumentation, right? So that's where you put in all the Android JUnit projects, JUnit files. And the main folder over here has assets. You already know what assets are, right? You have the Java over here, which actually, has the package name followed by all these Java files. This is equivalent to your source directory, okay, which you already saw in Eclipse. And the res remains the same. The organization of the res remains the same, although that only difference is it still sits parallel to the source directory, the res, just like the way it did in Eclipse. But everything over here is inside the main, right? And the manifest file again is a part of the main project over here. So if you want to reconstruct all of this stuff back to an Eclipse project, you have to consider only stuff which are there within the main, right? And you have to copy paste them and then construct the Eclipse project manually, okay? So again, you have the XML file here, and the rest of the stuff has to do with the Gradle project itself, okay? So build.gradle is the actual build.xml equivalent in the Gradle, right? The build.xml in AND, this is its equivalent, which it works in Gradle, okay? So apart from that, there are some salient features on this particular, Android Studio. A simple thing what you're observing right over here is that you can minimize all that stuff over here, which you couldn't do with Eclipse, right? It shows you the structure just like the way an XML opens up in a Internet Explorer or something like that. It gives you breakdown of the structure, and so that it's much more readable, right? And and it gives you, where's that resource layout and line. So it gives you a similar structure where you can go ahead and edit just like the way Eclipse did. It's basically all the stuff which were available on Eclipse is available over here, and it has much more things, right? So for example, I can directly go double click on a particular view. I can edit the text over here. I can change the ID of the button, right? And I can go edit stuff over here as well, which are related to this particular text view, right? I can directly edit the XML in the form of a user interface. If you do not like, or if this particular user interface does not support stuff, then you can go back to text and you can view the XML equivalent of it, right? And you can go ahead and you can edit it. Okay. So if you have done all the stuff so far on the demos which we have done on Eclipse, you could probably migrate to Android Studio, but again, the objective should be that you understand Android first. Learning and getting used to an IDE is something of a different thing over here. It's just left to you guys. You get to take your decision, whichever you want to use. But just for this particular day, I'm going to discuss Android Studio so that it's just there, on the recording, so that some point of time you guys need it. It's here, right? And tomorrow onwards, I'm going to go back to Eclipse again. Okay. So remember, again, it's in the beta stage. All right. So get familiar with new stuff. Okay. So I know I kind of digressed here, but we were discussing toasts, right? So let me just give you a demonstration of the toasts here. In Android Studio, you can directly click on this particular button, Run. Although this is all there in Eclipse as well. The other thing which you can do over here is select the AVD manager. You can do SDK manager, and you can also I don't know what this is. What is this? Oh yeah, it opens up the ADB device monitor. The ADB device monitor was available to you in Eclipse directly, right? Over here, you can open it up as an external window, right? Or you can also view the ADB logs over here. Okay, the device manager is this particular thing, the Android debug device manager, or sorry, device monitor, is used for much more things than just ADB logs. Okay, you will realize this probably when you deal with more serious applications where you'll have to measure how much time a particular application took to execute, or you probably want to debug some serious memory leaks, or you probably want to take a look at how much heap memory the application used and things like that. Okay, it's a set of debug tools for probably for an advanced level, but until you guys get there, so just keep that in mind. Okay, right. So Command R or your Control R is the shortcut to run. Although you can run it from this particular command over here, right? And you get to choose the list of emulators which are running. In my case, I've hold on. Why doesn't show up? Okay. Let me just restart this ID. It should show up the device. Anyway, so let me just show you the demo here. My Android device is not getting detected. Okay, so let me just start. Great, fine. Okay. All right, guys, just give me a minute. I'll just create an ADB emulator, Nexus 5. The problem is that if I actually just unplug and replug back my Android phone, it's gonna hang the Mac. There's some bug in the Mac. I don't want to disturb that for now. So create device, Nexus 4, clone device. So why doesn't that come up? Oh, create AVD, yeah. Okay. Right. So just before let the emulator start, I'll just give you guys the Java explanation of this stuff. Right. So when it comes to toasts, it's very simple. Generally, the toasts are used to give a user a simple textual feedback. You don't get to customize it at a great deal. Okay. So it's just a simple API which says toast.makeText. Right. It takes in the context, which is typically the context of the application, right, or the activity, whichever it is, and then you put the message which you want to display, right, and it says you get to give it toast.short, which is, there are two flavors of the toast, right? One is the toast.short, right, and the other one is the toast.long. Okay, the long would last for a couple of more seconds more than the short, but basically toasts vanish away, right, very quickly. Okay, so there are two flavors of it. And hold on, I don't need this anymore. Okay, so there's also a way to customize the toasts as well, right? What you end up with, probably doing to customize the toast is quite simple. You just do it like this. You have a particular layout, right? You know that you can inflate a layout from the layout inflator, right? This is a inflator service. Get system. Right, and from the inflator, you inflate the layout. Let's say the same layout which I want to inflate over here. I do it like this, and I pass null as the root view there. I get the view like this. All right. Okay. All right. Let's call it V. Okay. And then you create a toast. Right. You can say get application context over here, and you can customize this toast to have a view which you're inflating. Right. Then you say toast dot show. So basically, if you want the view, just the basic toast API over here, makeText, just gives you the ability to show textual views. I mean textual toasts, right? But if you want to do more than that, right, you can create your own custom toast this way. Okay, so there's a slight catch over here which you guys need to understand. And it also is an important thing when it comes to dealing with toasts. Oh man, why is it taking so long? Yeah, thank God. Somehow my MLA phone is back. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of demo on Android Wear as well. I know it's the future, so I thought you should screw this. Okay, great. So Windows R, Control R is the way you, Command R or Control R in Windows, right? That's how you launch the application. All right, so now that thing is here. Right. I need this. Okay. So when you click on toast, right, you get the basic toast over here, a simple textual toast. Okay. What you can customize in a toast, is over here. Let me just complete that demo here. So when I click on projects, it shows me the project perspective here, right? Go to layout. When I right click on layout, you can see this is a slightly different user experience, okay? When you right click on any of the folders over here in Android Studio, right, you get, of course, this is what I'm interested in. It's basically a layout file, but if you want activities, you get to do all this. Android TV activity is for Android TVs, okay? That's a different concept as such, right? So it gives you this, you know, really usable, a cool user interface to do stuff, right? So let me just create a simple layout. I'm going to give it a name called custom post layout underscore custom post, right? Okay, so when I do this, it shows me the stuff. I'm going to just drag and drop. Where's an image view? Here, right? And a plain text view there, right? So vertical, let's keep it horizontal, right? And text view, custom toast. Okay. And where's the image view? Content 0 pixel, 0 pixel, layout weight 2, 1, 2, 1.3, layout weight 0.70. So you know what layout weights are, right? It's just basically how much percentage of this particular linear layout should these two views actually occupy. For example, on height-wise, it's wrap content, but when it comes to the width, you specified that as 0 pixel and left it to the layout weight. For example, this image view takes about 30% of this linear layout with a horizontal orientation, and this takes about 70%, right? I'm just going to set the image, hold on. Let's not see. So it's very convenient. It gives you, you know, quick suggestions and stuff, right? So this is how it's going to look. Let me just, you know, yeah, that's fine. It's just a demo. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to customize that. Right. So you can run it again if you're using the tool here like this, or the shortcut key here. Okay. So when I click on toast, you can see that appears here slightly, you know, should have been a little darker, and the text size it should probably be bigger, but that's, you know, it's just a demo. That's the objective, right? So you see this custom toast, right? So that's how you customize toasts. So from a development point of view, when would you probably want to customize toast?